Alright, hello everyone and welcome to today's daily practice session. Today we are going to do something different. We are going to solve VA questions, but also we will be solving two questions based on critical reasoning. Right? So let's understand the questions and understand the reasoning behind it. So let's start. So the first statement here is what we have to do. We have been given 4 blanks. We have to fit in the sentence. It's a para completion based statement. So the statement says this was years in the making but fast tracked during pandemic. When people started being more mindful about their food, he explained. Alright. The paragraph says for millennia, ghee has been a venerated staple for subcontinental diet, but it fell out of favor a few decades ago when saturated fats were largely considered to be unhealthy. So what's ghee considered to be? It's a holy diet, but usually a few decades ago saturated fats were not considered to be healthy. It fell out of favor due to that. But more recently, the thinking around the saturated fats is shifting globally. Indians are finding their own way to this ingredient that is so integral to their cuisine. Okay, so Indians are coming back to it. For Karmarkar, a renewed interest in ghee is emblematic of a return to basics movement in India. This movement is also a part of an overall trend towards slow food. In keeping with movement's philosophy, ghee can be produced locally when at home and has inextricable cultural ties. So ghee is a very important part of Indian home. At a basic level, ghee is a type of clarified butter believed to have originated in India as a way to preserve butter from going rancid or that is bad in the hot climate. So it is a clarified butter that is used or that was made so that butter would not go bad in India's hot climate. So clearly here we have a very big clue that he is explaining. So he is clearly referring to a noun, and the only noun that we can find about he is the proper noun Karmarkar. Right. So using that, let's just put it in. Right. So for Karmarkar, new interest in ghee is emblematic of return to basics movement in India, and this was years in the making but fast tracked during pandemic when people started being more mindful about their food, and that is why this movement is also a part of the overall trend. So clearly the only way this sentence is being placed in this paragraph is when putting in the option 3, and therefore the answer has to be this. Right? Pretty simple, right? Let's move it. It was a very big clue given over here. So we have to read the passage and answer the question below them. So what's the question? Let's understand that. We have to think that which of the following statements, if true, most supports the conclusion. Okay. We have to support it. Made by Dr. Lonko regarding attractiveness of blue light to insects. Okay. Let's read the passage, understand the key ideas, and then we look at the options. So making LED light bulbs gives off less blue light might help protect people from insect-borne diseases. Okay. According to a scientist who specializes in the environmental effects of artificial light. The scientist Travis Lonko, a professor of spatial science at the University of Southern California, is working with Royal Philips, a Dutch electronics company, to develop bulbs less attractive to insects. He took experimental Philips LED bulbs whose mix of red, blue, green and white could be tuned and tested them against off-the-shelf LEDs and compact fluorescent bulbs, all suspending at night over traps of soapy water in Santa Monica Mountains. Okay, that's the experiment he did. Mosquitoes, sandflies and a kissing bug that transmit malaria, leishmaniasis, Chagas and other disease are attracted to the bluer wavelengths of the oldest and cheapest LED bulbs, which were created by putting a phosphor coating on the blue diode, Lonko said. Right, so we have to support this. So clearly, okay. So here what basically Dr. Travis Lonko is saying that insects are attracted to the blue light. Right, and we have to support the same idea. Attractiveness of blue light to insects. Let's look at the options. Insects are most active in daylight and blue light is the closest to mimicking daylight. Fair enough. Right, this talks about why insects being more active during the day. Let's see, it does kind of support it. So let's keep it for now. Insects are attracted to blue light more than lights of other colors, but in the absence of blue light, they will be attracted to lights of other colors. So basically, it says that yes, they are attracted to blue light, but also to the lights of other colors as well. Right? So this makes no sense. Right? It does not support the passage because it's saying that okay, blue light is there, but other lights are also attractive towards for the insects. So clearly, it's not supporting of any sense. Third, the attractiveness of different wavelengths of light to insects is dependent on other factors. So if it's the other factors, then how can we support Dr. Longo in his attractiveness of blue lights theory? So clearly this is not the case. Fourth, insects that transmit diseases like malaria, lemshasis, chagas are most active during the daytime and little artificial light is required. So it's irrelevant then why are we even talking about it if they are active during daylight. So clearly, right, if they're active during daylight and blue light is closest to mimicking daylight and that is why they are attracted to them, this showcases the most support to the conclusion that Dr. Longcourt made. So clearly the option number 1 is our correct statement. Alright, I hope that was clear. Let's look at the next one. We have to decide on the proper order of the 4 sentences. Okay, this is a parajumble based questions. Okay, so let's look at the statements. For all the brawling and sorcery at the play's heart are the lulls in which Macbeth mulls the witch's prophecies and crimes the insight, in which he decides that what kind of man he will be. So during the whole brawling and the sorcery part, which is in the core part of the play, there is a scene where Macbeth is just deciding and in deep thought about the witch's prophecies and the crimes they basically lead him to do, right? And this is what he decides what kind of person he will become, right? On a Saturday afternoon in February, a month before Macbeth was to open at the National Theatre in London, its artistic director Rufus Norris rehearsed alone with Rory Kinnear. Okay, so now they are talking about the play Macbeth, where the director was rehearsing with Rory Kinnear. These are intimate scenes, and finessing their gestures and tempo was intimate work, like a clinch between prize fighter and the trainer. So these are very important scenes. These are very, we could say, the kind of nature, the intimate nature of that whole particular scenes of Macbeth. Right, alright. The fourth one, the session's aim, said Mr. Norris, was to find an approach to Shakespeare's soliloquy that fitted the Oliver Theatre, the national's biggest. So this talk about the aim of the whole session that they had, right? The approach to the soliloquy, that's a thing that they are talking about. So clearly, if we had to think about this, is all about the play Macbeth, not the story about the Shakespeare, but the play in which Macbeth has been seen, right? So clearly we have to start with option 2, because that is the one saying that one on a Sunday afternoon there's a rehearsal going on between Rufus Norris and Rory Kinnear. It is beautifully followed by 4, because it's talking about, continuing with the statement, Mr. Norris said that session's aim is to find an approach to Shakespeare's soliloquies that fitted the Oliver Theatre. Clearly it is so, and therefore he justifies the whole everything, right? What is the aim? Basically, at the play's heart is Macbeth's decision, or Macbeth's deep thinking contemplation about the witch's prophecies, in which he decides what kind of man he will be. And that is why these are the intimate scenes, and facing the gestures was intimate work like a clinch between prize fighter and trainer. So it describes the intimate nature of rehearsing such scenes, because basically sentence 1 is talking about how deeply the scene has to be thought of, right? So clearly it's a perfect approach to the 4th one, that is soliloquy. So clearly our answer has to be 2, 4, 1 and lastly 3, right? I hope it's clear. Let's move to the next one. Again, read the passage, answer the question given below. Okay. So what is, we have to conclude that given the information present in the passage to be accurate. Okay, so we are assuming this passage is accurate and we have to conclude. Okay, let's see what we have to conclude. The overwhelming hum from nearby traffic is often annoying. Okay, but it could also be making individuals more obese according to new research from Sweden. So basically the sound of traffic is making people obese. Interesting, right? Researchers said they found that residents of Stockholm exposed regularly to noise from trains, aircraft and road traffic all experience growth in their respective waistlines. Okay. For individuals that were unlucky enough to have been consistently exposed to all three categories, the risk of larger waist doubled from the 25 heightened or 25% heightened risk among people exposed only to one noise source. Okay, so people who are exposed to all kind of noise sources have a 25% higher chance of being obese. The research team was unable to draw a conclusive link between the noise pollution and obesity, but suggested that increase of stress caused by audible errands may be the possible culprit. So they were not able to find the link that was too conclusive, or this is why noise pollution and obesity are linked together. But they have suggested that this noise is basically increasing stress by creating irritants, and that could be the culprit. Traffic noise may inflict metabolic and cardiovascular functions through sleep disturbance and chronic stress, said Andre Pico, the leader of the study at the institute. So simple passage it is, right? So we have to find out how can we conclude the statement, right? So again, just to brief it all about, it is about noise pollution first, and it is linked with obesity, and but we don't know how exactly it is being caused by that. But researchers have kind of suggested that stress is a thing, and could be also sleep disturbance could also be an issue that could be the link to how audible irritants or basically noise pollution is basically the culprit behind people being obese, and therefore traffic being the main culprit. So let's look at the options and how can we conclude the same. Individuals with larger waistlines most likely would have been consistently exposed to noise from trains, traffic or road traffic. Right. So it's already saying that individuals who are already having larger waistlines. So we are not confirming that. Right. We are saying that if you live near these noise sources, you will have a growth in this thing. Right. So we don't know, okay, if they're already having large waistlines, so the reversal is true. They must have been living. So clearly we are saying that noise leads to being obese. We're not saying that obese is there, that is why noise must have been there. Right. So this is a wrong conclusion that we cannot take. It's a reversal we cannot be taking. There is a correlation, but that does not mean it is causing it. Right. So correlation will not equal to causation. Second one, the noise pollution increases the stress level among individuals, which will most likely result in an increase in their weight. Right. So kind of yes, but not exactly direct, because noise pollution increases the stress of the individual, and that stress is basically the one that is influencing the weight loss, weight increase, right? So it is there but not quite there. Let's just keep it for now. 3. A decrease in the exposure of noise irritants from traffic would most likely result in decrease in weight of individuals suffering from such exposure. So yes, we could say that exposure to obesity is basically because of noise. So if you decrease that noise, you will likely lose weight. Right? It is also possible. 4th, the correlation between increase in weight among individuals and the exposure to noise pollution can be a coincidence. If it's a coincidence, that we cannot conclude it. There's a study going on. Coincidence cannot be the case. So clearly this is rejected. Right. So it may be a coincidence, but that's not what study is saying. So we cannot conclude the same. So clearly we have to compare between 2 and 3. The second option is basically a bit indirect. Right. The passage is just kind of what we would say suggesting that it could happen like that, but the sentence here is saying that it will most likely result in increase in weight. So there's a suggestion, not a conclusion that is given here, right? So clearly this cannot be taken, and therefore 3 has to be our answer, because this also is saying that it would most likely result in decrease. So if this is true, then this has to be true. So that is a logical conclusion that we can say. right? Because suggestion is there, it's not going to prove it, so that is why we remove the second, but we accepted the same in the third one, right? I hope that was clear, right? Let's move to the next one. Again, sentences are given, we have to identify the odd one out. Okay. So, Zakynthos is a cultural beacon in the middle of Ionian Sea. Okay, so we are talking about the place. It is only fitting then that the first music school to be established in Greece was here in 1815. Just because it's in front of the sea, we don't know. You can say music flows in their veins. So maybe the people they're talking about. Zakynthos has long and rich musical tradition. Okay, their penchant for music can be traced to ancient times where the god of music Apollo cherished the island. Okay, so we can say that yes, there is a link between 2 and kind of what we could say 4, because it has a long rich music tradition. The first music school was established there only. So yeah, 2 and 4 do make sense, and their penchant for music flows in their veins. This could be related to again the place, Zakynthos, the people as well, right? But to say that Zakynthos is basically cultural beacon, it's a very vague sentence, right? It's very broad and does not connect technically with any kind of music or any sense, right? So we can say that 2, 4 and somehow 3, 5 are there related to each other, but the first one is quite odd because it's too generic and too broad, right? So therefore the odd sentence out has to be statement 1. Alright, so there we have it. I hope you looked at the statements with the flow and the logic behind it was understood by you all. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.